Hori, man, I love your art style. But someone needs to teach you how to draw babies, bro. Why do they look so ugly? What's up, guys? I'm Hunter here, and here we are to do a breakdown and review to chapter 409 of My Hero Academia, which is known as Quirk Explosion. And, whew, this chapter may have done what I was not expecting on multiple different levels, and has maybe even convinced me that a certain character was required to be brought back into the narrative to complete the third best character in the entire series arc. I don't know. There's a whole lot to talk about, so let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me, ready. 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? Hunter here. Fun fact, I do in fact have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, Bakugo, my boy. You was one ugly behind baby. Oh, shoot, look at him. Why is he built like that? Why is he built like that? And hey, you know, that newborn with a pencil was not particularly good looking either, but golly, bro. Why are you built like that? Like, I can understand why Masaki's crying, bro. I'd be crying too. Look at that. Like, geez, that's my son? Me and my model wife produced that? No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding that he's ugly, but obviously Masaki would be thinking that. I love for two characters who are like, they're basically set dressing, mostly background characters, like I'd say darn near more background characters than characters like Natsuo, characters like Fuyumi, characters like, those are the main ones, even Rei from the Todoroki family, like more background characters than even them. Man, I just love it. I love this family, bro. I love this whole trio of characters. Bakugo is a character who, admittedly, when I first started reading, I had the same opinion as everybody, and unlike a lot of other people, no, I actually think Bakugo has, dare I say it, let me make sure the Midoriya fans don't hear me, I think he has a better character journey than Midoriya by like 1,000,000-fold. I'll respect Midoriya's writing. You won't hear me say Midoriya's writing's trash, but in terms of a genuine character journey, Midoriya is basically the same character with a little bit more confidence. And like a lot stronger, don't get me wrong, but like that's about it. But Bakugo is a genuinely changed person. And I think his journey is one of the best. So seeing him at the start of his journey, especially considering where he sends another character by the end of this chapter, very nice. Once again, Hori with the theme, man. I see what you're doing there. Opening up with a baby, ending off with maybe worse than a baby. But with that being the case, I do love this family, man. Masaki, Mitsuki, and Bakugo, Katsuki, they're all such a I've just realized all their names end with ki. Masaki, Katsuki, and Mitsuki. That's so nice. I don't know. Just nice little cute family convention. But once again, I love this cast. I don't know. Once again. I keep saying once again. Because once again. The Bakugo family is the side characterist of side characters. For the longest time, Bakugo didn't even have a main antagonist. And to be real, the main antagonist he gets barely is his main antagonist. He's kind of picking up the scraps off of All For One / Midoriya / Shigaraki. I mean, All Might / Midoriya / Shigaraki. But I still think it works. I still think it definitely works. I think it adds a nice layer to Bakugo's character. Once again, this chapter really is a testament to Bakugo's development. And we see that starting all the way back when he was the baby, the boy raised with love. And we see different points of Bakugo's history, and we see the shift that Bakugo's undergone. From the crying baby who believed he held the world in his hands, to he himself, once again, always a hard worker, saying, I'm going to make all my skills my own and keep rising. And then we see even further into the future, my explosion can pull off anything I want it to. And that statement was more true than I ever could have expected. One of these days, I'm gonna buckle down. I don't know, because there are questions of whether or not I even make that video, because that's a lot of effort for probably nothing. But with that being the case, man, Quirks is a power system, dog. I'm still not rocking with them. But with that being the case, what I love the most about this little prelude before the chapter itself is Bakugo's question. The question to himself, the question to the world, but mainly the question to one man. Izuku, or not really the question, the definitive statement, which I think makes it even better. Because once again, it shows that the core of the character is still the same, but the fundamental development and motions and notions of the character are fundamentally different. Izuku, I'll no longer get in your way. So this, and I think it's very poignant that the image we see here is all the way back from chapter 1, when they were back in middle school. That's how far that Bakugo was always getting in Midoriya's way, one way or another. And this getting in the way nature of the character has been a fundamental facet of him forever. But to this day, he still gets in people's way. But the reason why, how he does it, and why he does it are all so fundamentally different that, once again, third favorite character, well, honestly, maybe just my second at this point. Maybe it's my second. Because my thing is, right, if you didn't know, my top three favorite character journeys in My Hero Academia, and overall my top 3 favorite characters, well, maybe I really like All Might, but once again, Iron Might's kind of threw a wrench in that, in a similar vein to something else I'm going to mention. But Endeavor, who's my number 1 favorite character and has my number 1 favorite character journey, and ultimately, I think at this point, conclusion. And number 2 was Shigaraki for the longest time, that maybe I do have to give it to Bakugo. Maybe I do just have to give it to Bakugo. Because, like, I don't know. Shiggy, he was derailed so hard and for so long. Can I really call his character journey my favorite when we explicitly had a massive interruption thrown into it? That, within the general purpose of the narrative, achieved nothing but stalling. And giving Bakugo a main villain. But as you can see, this battle does not last all too long. But with that being the case, the top 3 favorite character journeys right there. Bakugo, Endeavor, and Shigaraki. And Bakugo's journey's at the top. And I love, once again, it's a similar vein to Izuku's writing. So maybe I don't necessarily fully get why I don't buy the Izuku hype, the Deku hype, if you will. I don't know. A lot of people are saying, he's the best new gen MC. And it's like, I like a couple people more overall. But a couple's kind of, he's still top 5, right? He's not booted out of the competition entirely, but I wouldn't even put him in my top 3 new gen MCs. Then again, I like another chunk of new gen MCs for fundamentally different reasons than I like Midoriya. And I disagree with a lot of Midoriya's general choices in comparison to a lot of other new gen MCs. But with that being the case, back to Bakugo. His journey and his statement here, I'll no longer get in your way, tracing all the way back to when he stood in Midoriya's way and almost keeping his life going. Remember what he said to Midoriya here on that rooftop after he detonated his hero notebook. Bakugo's been getting in Midoriya's way all his life, ever since he got that quirk. They went from friends to enemies, back to something neutral, then towards friends, then towards allies, somewhere rivals all the way in between. But at a certain point, Bakugo was left behind. Him getting in Midoriya's way wasn't necessarily a trait that was like, oh, Bakugo's stronger than him and specifically encouraging Midoriya to step down. But no, Midoriya surpassed him like 200-something chapters ago. Hot minute ago, Midoriya was the savior, and ultimately Bakugo did get in his way in both positive and negative ways. The main positive way I can think of where Bakugo got in his way is when he got that quirk awakening during the First War and saved Midoriya's life from All for Shigaraki. So getting in the way is a very broad term, a very broad statement, and I think it works for all that Bakugo has done, both positive and negative up to this point in the narrative. And we see that certain things get ready to pop off, if you will. As we see All Might declare, dodge it, young Bakugo! Because obviously last chapter ended off with All for One getting just a teeny tiny bit thick. Just a little chunky. Can I even say, like, he's way more than just a bit. Just a pinch, just a little tiny bit chunky. He's massive. A conglomeration of all the quirks that he's ever used. And we see him lunge forward on this massive burst of energy. And I love this moment right here in particular. I love this for one particular reason. It's kind of because I can relate to it to a certain degree, even on like a basic, everyday, mundane basis. Bakugo, in his own heart and mind, going, please explode. He's essentially begging his body to complete a simple bodily function. And I think that's so, it's telling on so many different levels. It's telling to how the character's feeling in the moment, where he's so blinded by pain, agony, confusion, regeneration, all that. He's so pained by that he needs to literally beg his body, which is probably screaming at him, to shut down and rest, to keep moving forward. He's saying, please explode, because this is the last and pretty much only chance he has against the monster, the demon that is All For One. He's saying, please explode, just as a last-ditch effort to join the echelon of the top, to join them all and truly save the world as the hero he always wanted to be. And also, it just relates to me, because, like, I'm tired and I'm driving a long distance. I was on my body to explode. I'm like, body, please. No. Body, fight it, or else we'll die. Like, it is kind of that scenario where I understand Bakugo, if he fails here, he's cooked. Also me, when I'm driving, if I fall asleep there, I'm cooked. And we see that he declares, explode. And I love All For One's silly little face here, where he's like, oh, he was not ready to get absolutely decimated and detonated. And we see Bakugo Katsuki, the main man himself, hit him with a double boom, not a double boost, but a double boom, a boom, boom, if you will, blowing away anything and everything. And we see that somehow these detonations didn't necessarily take place when Bakugo got all nice up close and personal and was like, hey, buddy, and like went out and grabbed the face. No, these explosions ended up coming out all in All For One. Somehow. Somehow indeed. And we see All For One even questions. Wait. Flag on the play. What? But he's still far away. He's never done something like this. Accurate. All For One, I want to remind you, it's not on that empty skull of yours. The current series you're in is known as My Hero Academia. It does not matter if a character's never done it before. They will do it if the plot demands it. And we do get to see that Bakugo explains the phenomena that has allowed him to transcend distance itself. My explosions get weaker in the rain. But if I had a coating, I can send them off. Nani? I covered my explosive sweat drops in regular sweat drops and didn't activate them. After some time, they eventually mix together and explode from outside stimulus. Okay. So, I know a lot of people are going to be like, Pencil, I need you to stop thinking so hard. Quirks are just magic, and you've got to accept it. But I'm sorry, I got to think about it. I'm not sure if nitroglycerin is like hyperphobic or some hydrophobic, not hyperphobic. If it's hydrophobic or something like that, and thusly maybe it can be contained by the sweat. But like, how does Bakugo coat the? Does he like? I have no idea. Like, are his knees weak, palms are sweaty? There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti, he's nervous. But on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking now. Everybody's joking now. The clocks run out. Time's up. Over. Blow. Now it's back to reality. Up there goes gravity. Up is a reality. Nope, he's so mad, but he won't go. I'm sorry. But it's legitimately, is it something like that? I'm sorry, I completely went until I collapsed. I completely forgot the point I was making. But with it being the case, I don't know how he did that. Like, remember, all the sweat that comes from his palms is what's explosive. And I already know his sweat does weird things. Like, somehow it back leaked into his body. Like, notably, the sweat from his forehead and stuff like that isn't supposed to be explosive. But, like, the sweat, like, back drained. It, like, inverse drained into him. And now jazz hands. He's now perfectly capable of using explosions inside himself to propel himself a whole bunch faster. Fine. I don't get how that works, but that's one thing. But how is he taking sweat from like the rest of his body? Or at least, let's say the back of his hands are sweaty. Let's say not just his knees weak, palms are sweaty. There's not vomit on the sweater already. There is no mom spaghetti. He may not be nervous, but on the surface, he is calm and ready. And he's about to literally drop bombs. And his opponent keeps on forgetting what they wrote down. The whole crowd will go so loud, he opens his mouth, but the bombs won't come out. He's choking now. I'm sorry. I love that song. I can't tell you how many times I listened to that song. That's why I remember specifically that whole verse. I don't remember the rest of it, but maybe I do remember more. If I just go, I bet if someone were to put on the beat, I could go for a hot minute. But with that being the case, I don't know how he wraps his sweat around them. Because he very specifically said, and this may be an official translation thing, I'll wait, but I covered my explosive sweat drops and regular sweat drops and didn't activate them. How? Like, especially at the speed he's moving. Like, I'm not sure, unless, like, that would, like, the only way I could get it is if, like, he could choose whether or not the sweat was nitroglyceric or not, and thusly he sweats out a normal sweat drop, but before the sweat drop can leave his palm, he like fills it with the nitro drop, and then he launches it forward. I get the launching forward part. I just don't get how he coats them in his own sweat, in his own non-explosive sweat. I don't get that, especially considering the explosive sweat is coursing throughout his entire body. I don't fully get it, but once again, I'm just going to file this under quirks or magic and just not ask any questions. Because I'll be real, it's not really since I wouldn't ask questions because it's magic. It'd be like that. Would be like that sometimes. And in a series like Manga, I ain't questioning nothing. It's magic. In a series like Black Clover, I ain't questioning nothing because it's magic. But in MHA, I don't. Even if this was magic, I still don't get how he fully does that. But he does do it. There's nothing I can change about that. And we see that All For One realizes the reason he just detonated and is forced to rewind even further. He's like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." But this is super young All For One, so he's going to be like, "No, oh, you've got to be kidding me." Ooh. Buddy, don't do that. But at that time, he shot it in my mouth. Pause all over that. Just because I may be younger than him now doesn't mean I'm not 1,000 years old. I know he's only like 100 plus, but still. How fast was that? People have always said I'm pretty clever. I only need one quirk. And once again, there's a limit to cleverness and just like straight nonsense. Like, I would prefer there was just no explanation at all, or even just like say he. I think I'm just not exactly 100% sure how his quirk works. If his quirk was like a contact based thing or like a dual contact based thing, I could get it if he just like smacked All For One in the mouth, dropped an explosion, and then some of the explosion droplets were left in All For One's mouth. Then when he went to yell and or bite down, suddenly boom, his head detonated. But I don't know. Somehow he's been launching them. Though it is kind of metal that All For One, the embodiment of quirks themselves, the embodiment of all quirks, is like, yeah. I may have a whole bunch of stuff, but I can't beat a man who can detonate. And he literally can't. Because we see that All For One realizes, oh no, Bakugo was told something by All Might. The more damage he takes, the younger he gets. Got it? And we see that All For One realizes that, wait a minute. Oh, no. This can't be happening. This cannot be happening. I swear to the heavens above, this cannot be happening. My power is in disarray from all the damage, but I can do one more shot. This is my story. So essentially, we already saw that All For One's quirks can kind of somewhat rebel against him a little bit. We see this in the Stars and Stripes fight, where his quirks kind of be like, nah, I just don't think I will. But with that being the case, his power fading is an interesting, or no, the age and thus the lack of ability and power that comes with age in order to manipulate and control all these other powers is an interesting drawback to All For One. Because one of the biggest questions is like, why didn't he go around just smacking everybody? Like, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. And he just, but if it's like a corollary thing where all this overwhelming power, all these overwhelming quirk factors are just driving him insane, or he's unable to maintain it even with the youthful body, then it's most likely that the older and more decrepit he got, the less and less quirks he could maintain. So I get why. But we see he declares, "Move it, you side character." And once again, I need to remind you, All For One is essentially Bakugo if Bakugo did not have a Midoriya. If he did not have someone that forced him to develop. If he was lost in a world that was not the heroic one. All For One is Bakugo for all intents and purposes. That's why he says, "Move it, you side character." That's one of Bakugo's favorite original lines. But you can see as the series progresses, he fades out of it more and more and more until it's basically non-existent. Ultimately, All For One and Bakugo are twin mirrors to each other. They give anything and everything. They give everything and anything to themselves, their ideals, their own thought processes, their motives. That's what Bakugo and All For One are all about. But the fundamental difference is Bakugo's willingness to learn and change from those he once viewed side characters, and also, you know, not being like the Lord of all evil. That kind of does help a little bit. But with that being the case, we see All For One declare, "Move it, get out of my way, get out of my way." What's that? That's a Kingdom Hearts 2 reference. That's Pete. That's Pete from H2. But with that being the case, we see that as he declares, "You side character," suddenly, Bakugo's like, "Wait, you didn't say me, the side character. I'm the deuteragonist, big boy. I need you to hear this one." And he just immediately drops a whole howitzer on him. Just a straight La Bomba, straight to the dome piece, annihilating multiple chunks. Once again, look at Bakugo's explosion size. Like, pause. But, like, pause again. Well, let's play. Pause 3 times. So then you hit pause, play, pause again. So, that is crazy. Once again, this is a man on the verge of perishing. I know it's revealed that his quirk gets stronger the more damage and pain he takes, almost like Ultra Ego. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But, like, I don't know, man. The fact that he's this powerful. But once again, All For One is noted to be specifically very, very frail. He's, at this point, kind of just purely a glass cannon. So I guess it does make sense for even howitzer impacts and Bakugo, who's more than fast enough to land those, are able to do decent enough damage to All For One that he's like, "Oh no, I gotta regen." Versus before, where he probably could have, I mean, at least in his prime state, he may have been able to tank a howitzer impact head on, just because of its overall lacking power. But we see that ultimately using the howitzer impact has kind of just sent Bakugo to, this pain I feel in my heart isn't a fraction to the real pain I feel in my soul. Dad, you don't understand. It's not a phase. I just like tall goth women with wolf cuts, Dad. You wouldn't understand. You married a muscle. Okay, let me stop. But we do get to see that Bakugo just goes, "Ouch." And then he immediately starts booming on him. Like, he is just straight booming. Like, boom, boom, boom. He is annihilating. He's annihilating. Straight wiping that man from existence. It is wild. Honestly, I'm not gonna say it's a JoJo reference, confirmed, but the "you fool," well, actually no, "you fool" is more of a, at least to me, it's more of a like Dragon Ball reference. I think like Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2, whenever you would like I think it was literally one of Goku's, Super Saiyan Goku's ultimate attacks. It's just a "you fool," and then he just, and then he blasts Frieza. We see that Bakugo seems to be doing something similar with Explosion, where he's going "you fool," and then he's just boom, 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 and just dropping them all over All For One's dome piece. But I have a question, Bakugo. I do. I really do, from the bottom of my heart, Bakugo. And let me get something so I can answer it for you, Bakugo. Let me ask it. Let me ask it appropriately, Box. Let me ask it appropriately. Let me see. Bakugo, I gotta ask, bro. I gotta ask. Is this true, proper, and real? Top of the line king behavior? Is it, Bakugo? Is it really? What if All For One, because you don't know, you didn't get to see him in the message role. What if he had a sad backstory, Bakugo? What if he was an unwanted child? What if he didn't have a mom? And the mom that he did have perished the moment he was born with his little brother that he had to take care of for his entire life. Isn't that so sad, Bakugo? At least you have both your parents. That's a little bit rude. It's kind of a privileged kid who grew up in the rich life beating up on an orphan. It's Bakugo. What if he has a child inside him, Bakugo? What if he has a child inside him that just wanted to become the Demon King because of what his little brother inspired him to do? Bakugo, this is so mean, man. I think really what you should do is play patty cake with him in the sky for like half a year. And try to talk about your feelings with this mass executor who's done it before, will willingly do it again, and most likely will do it again after they properly finish executing you. Bakugo, I'm sorry, man. I'm going to have to dock you points. I'm going to have to dock you. That's for all 5 Leverage fans out there who get that very specific reference to that one very specific episode with that one very specific Elliot line. It's from the 3rd season, I do believe, because that was Duberman. That was the Duberman episode. It was all in the... I'm sorry, I'm going into a completely different... Fun fact, Leverage is my favorite live-action show ever. I really love Leverage. I've watched it like 5 times. I really love that show. I put that on as like white noise in the background. I can memorize and speak some of the episodes. But with it being the case, if you get that reference from the Duberman episode, it's Elliot Spencer. Who does he say I have to dock you to? But it's such a wild thing. I don't think anyone's going to get that one. But Bakugo, I really think you're rushing it a little bit too much, man. He could be innocent. This fellow, right, he could be innocent, man. He could have hopes and dreams that you should help him achieve, you know? Like, maybe you shouldn't have immediately leaped to executing him, even though it's the most logical decision to make in this scenario, considering he's a mass slaughterer. I don't know, Bakugo. I think you should have bonded with him. Or, like, tried to bond with him, or try to understand him, Bakugo. Because you should try to understand all the villains. All the villains, right? Midoriya, honestly, I think you should let Shigaraki go for a little bit. Obviously, All Might's safe now, and Shigaraki can't rush over to the building too fast, so I think you should run over and save All for One. Because you don't know if he is a child inside him. Never know. Never know. That's not real king behavior, Bakugo. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to dock you. But of course, memes aside, I love that Bakugo's about the business here. Like, notably, other deuteragonists or even other main characters, they'd give like speeches or time to talk, right? And like Bakugo's still going, "You fool!" But like clearly he said, "I'm racking up these stats, whether you want me to or not." Numerous convex explosions all over All for One. He's not about the... Well, no, he is literally flying on business right now. Standing on it, if you will. He's doing it, and I respect it. Once again, I know Midoriya's complexity comes into the fact that he wishes to understand his villains and all that, yada, yada, yada. Everyone can be redeemed, except for All for One, I guess, because I guess he's just a villain, even though he has a sad backstory, too. He has a sad backstory too, Midoriya. Maybe you should try to save him. But, sorry, memes aside. With that being the case, I do think, ultimately, Bakugo's reaction here of just straight slaughter. Straight like, no, we gotta get this man gone. Chef's kiss, beautiful. I do love that he's coming in, wasting absolutely no time. It fits his character, still fits into his development, considering what he's doing it for. And ultimately, I think Bakugo's violent execution of All for One is ultimately, once again, like I mentioned at the start of this review, the final declaration of Bakugo's development, the final conclusion of his journey, because he's not just saying, "You fool!" I'm sorry, I wish I could, Sean Channel, such a fantastic voice actor, dog. "Hey, it's me, Goku. I can't do it to save my life. Help me, please. I want Goku's voice." But,
"Hey, it's me, but I can't even do it perfect cell right now. I need more water." Actually, this is kind of close. Well, thanks to Uncle Piccolo cells. I'm sorry, I've been listening to a lot of TFS. They just been wrapped up episode 60 on 4-Star Bento. It's now time to watch the entire retrospective series all over again over the weekend. I'll probably be drawing or something. I really love TFS. I need to watch some of their more recent stuff. It's been a long while. I'm totally losing the cell here. Uncle Piccolo.
But with that being the case, this "you fool" is the culmination of Bakugo's journey. Because what is All for One's last words before he starts getting boomed on? "You side character, move it." And that's one of Bakugo's most famous lines. "You side characters in my story, what are you doing here?" It's Bakugo not just calling All for One a fool for assuming he's the main character in the story that he's trying to write, but also it's Bakugo declaring at his past self, the one who always got in the way, the one who was harmful to others, the one who was the furthest thing from a kind, well-meaning, and well-developed soul. He's calling himself a fool. I think that's sweet. Once again, the ultimate culmination of his character is here. And considering what happens, I know a lot of people are going to question, well, does All for One... does he add value to the narrative retroactively now, and thusly is it worth bringing him back? I'll talk about that in a bit. But we do get to see that he does Metro Boom and make it boom. As he just says, "You fool! Shut up." And he just, once again, straight booming. He is just going at him, dog. Like, I'm not gonna lie. if this were like, if Hori was just slightly more graphic of an artist, this would be like horrifying to watch. Bakugo's straight up like launching projectile detonations on, remember, All For One's like maybe 13? Like physically at this. I know he's like 120, but like he's like physically 13 at this time. Imagine seeing that. I don't have to say what it fully is. Just imagine multiple projectile explosives being launched at someone of that age. Like, dog, this would be crazy, but it's so cathartic because it's Bakugo against All For One. And I love the little details here. You can see that All For One is still most certainly fighting back, but Bakugo's he's just booming it all. You see Tails or like a Quirk try to lunge out here. Bakugo destroys it with his lower hand as he fires off at All For One with his left hand. You see the original Quirk that All For One stole for himself, his own mother's Quirk, which I mean, it could be a cool detail, once again, because we see Mitsuki, Bakugo's mom at the start, and the difference of being raised with love versus being raised, or not being raised at all. But with that being the case, I love the detail that towards the end, right, because it seems to be the end of All For One, towards the end, the final thing that reaches out to defend him, that tries to stop the mean teenager from detonating the 120-year-old man, is the first quirk he got. The quirk his mama gave him. The quirk that he ended up stealing from her, along with everything else that he stole from her, including Yoichi. That's what reaches out to defend him. But just due to the nature of All For One, his quirk, his background, everything, due to the nature of all that, it's not enough. It's not enough. Because this wasn't from a boy raised with love. This is a boy who raised himself into believing the whole world belonged to him. And ultimately, we see what the world has to say about that. As Bakugo weaves the spikes and goes boom, and just keeps going. Like, notably, you can see, I love it. I love the details here. It's a very chaotic. This is some of Hori's most chaotic, yet at the same time most alive compositing. I love how you can see all the different quirks and quirk pieces breaking off of the massive conglomerate that Bakugo's just boom-ing. Boom, boom, boom. It's like literally is reading a JoJo's chapter. I still need to actually read JoJo's. I need to actually read JoJo's. I will. Give me some time. Give me some time. Give me some time. I know there's like a new JoJo's part. That is something I should have started live reacting to. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I mean, I may still. Who knows? One thing, your boy leaps on manga completely random times. So maybe. Any interest in JoJo's? I doubt it. But with it being the case, boom, boom, boom. And he just detonates All For One everywhere. A little bit of All For One here, a little bit of All For One there, a little bit of All For One there. Like, you literally, I love how in this image, you can't even see All For One anymore. He's gone. He's cooked. Like he's not even visible in this massive cacophony of chaos that Bakugo's causing. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And we see that things just ain't looking good for the Demon King. As he says, I almost did something horrible for editing me. Editing me would have reached through the past, grabbed me by the throat, and strangled me. But we see that All For One finds himself in a conundrum. How odd. I'm unable to mix my quirk factors together. That's not the explosion's doing. It's because my body's becoming too young and frail. As your brain is negative emotions, your control weakens, big man. That's why I was able to hold this fan meeting of mine. Shigaraki was your downfall, kiddo. So, that's an interesting twist. I didn't even notice that in the live reaction that you can see on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or become a member for as little as $3 a month to check out the live reaction of this chapter. But, interesting. Right? We can see, this is not Hawks. I've seen a little confusion. I like scrolled a little bit before I started recording the review. Some people think this is like real Hawk. No, this is Hawks' quirk, which contains a copy of Hawk, which is weird. But like, once again, quirks are magic. Though I guess like that is a thing. Like people have mentioned, I've heard stories of like phantom movements or like whenever you get like a lone body part, whether it be like a heart or a liver, like you'll get some like phantom things, or like some people like claim memories of the original user of that body part, like some stuff like that. But with a Hawks here, it's apparent that ultimately what All For One did The weird thing, here's the weird thing though. Here's definitely the weird thing. Shigaraki All For One and original All For One, they aren't connected. At least not like directly, like at all. Like remember, this is why it feels weird. Shigaraki All For One is an entirely separate entity for the most part. Like he's his own thing. It's the original quirk. But like this All For One that we see and we've been following for the past couple chapters, this is the original. This is not the quirk original. This is obviously a copy of the quirk and all the quirks that were inside it, presumably. But this is the original All For One personality. The reason that All For One even got Shigaraki in the first place, because All For One himself couldn't harbor hatred. So not exactly, or like he couldn't harbor the hatred to deal with One For All. So he got Shigaraki, who could harbor hatred, and then threw All For One in there with his own quirk vestige in there to try and take the body over. So I don't get why this body's suffering the effects of Shigaraki. I mean, it's a cool, once again, I like Shigaraki being a major part of All For One's downfall. That's neat. I'm not mad at that in of itself, but it does feel weird that, one, Hawks is rising up random, not alive people, most likely. But also just, how is Shigaraki responsible despite this not even being his body? And we know the two are separate because that's why All For One had to go get in contact with the original to give the second All For One. Like, there's no radio connection. Like, he's not even able to communicate with that other All For One inside Shigaraki or Shigaraki himself. So, I don't know. That feels a little bit weird. Once again, I'm going to see what the official translation says about that one, because that one doesn't make sense based on how All For One was established as a character. I think it would make sense if Hawk said, as you brandish negative emotions, your control weakens. That's why I was able to hold this fan meeting of mine. Ultimately, you becoming more human was your ultimate downfall. Because we can see All For One holds hatred and fear and negativity towards some people, like All Might, like the side characters who keep getting in his way, like Midoriya, even like Shigaraki himself for a little bit. So I think ultimately the story of All For One developing emotions and those emotions weakening his control would have been more interesting. But hey, I mean, I'll take whatever layup Shigaraki can get. And we see that Bakugo's like, forget the layups. This is our story. And he just smacks All For One dead in the domer with one final giga explosion. And we get a mighty kaboom. Hold on, let me hit it proper. Kaboom. And we see
that ultimately,
little by little, all the damage dealt by everyone, finally, All For One, we see All For One, now once and for all, he's cooked. There's no way I could have done this alone. All For One is dead. I think that's what that's meant to imply here. I think that's supposed to be baby All For One. I think that's him literally being rewound out of existence. So All For One's dead. And notably, I like that the focus isn't given to him. It's given to Bakugo and the efforts of everyone standing together against them. The big final panel isn't All For One getting a final dramatic death scene. It's just a tiny little panel tucked in the upper left-hand corner where you hear a baby whining for a power it could never have. I think that's a nice way to end it. Once again, I see All For One as which is something I didn't see him before, so Hori continues. Man, that's the thing with having a bunch of hair. It feels weird wearing a hat. Well, not a bunch of hair. I know I don't have like hair like some crazy men. I've seen like women wear hats and women with like crazy amounts of hair wear hats, but I'm not used to wearing hats. But with that being the case, what I do like about All For One is that he ended up being the perfect mirror to Bakugo and the perfect way to cap off his journey and the best way to give Bakugo a major antagonist when he was the only one out of our main cast and crew. I say our four main characters. Technically, Bakugo's a deuteragonist, so realistically, Todoroki shouldn't be in this. But to be real, our four main characters of the entire series are going to be Midoriya, our main character, Bakugo, our deuteragonist, Araka, our female lead, and Shota Todoroki, our secondary deuteragonist, I suppose. Todoroki kind of got a whole bunch of highlights not only in the early series, but he's, I think, 3 Heroes World Mission is, or something like that. Whatever the third movie was, he was the main poster guy there. It wasn't Araka, even though she's the female lead. Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku are meant to be our main trio, essentially, of heroes. Uraraka's kind of just there, but that's how Hori writes. You kind of just gotta get used to that. But as a byproduct of that, Bakugo for the longest time was the only character without, and I mean without, a main antagonist to go with the main protagonist. Like I said, I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. Deku had Shigaraki, Todoroki had Dabi, and Uraraka had Toga. They were mirrored perfectly. Bakugo never had one of those, and always felt weird to me. Bringing All For One back to give Bakugo one of those to wrap up his character arc, I'm okay with it. Do I think it was 100 million billion% necessary to shoot Shigaraki's character journey in the foot to do it? No. I think you could have had the best of both worlds and brought All For One back and let Shigaraki still be his own character. And you still get this catharsis at the end and ultimately the conclusion to Bakugo's journey. I think it could have done both, but Hori went down a different path, and I'll hold that. So overall, this is still a W chapter. We finally got rid of the story nuisance. That's all I can call it. The story nuisance that is All For One. Bakugo got a wonderful wrap up to his character. Presumably, we're going to cut away. I don't think we're going to cut back to Midori versus Shigaraki because we still have the Eraserhead plotline to wrap up. Every other major plotline has been wrapped up, though, so that seems to be the penultimate plotline that we're going to wrap up. And once again, I love Masaki being excited, Mitsuki being shocked, and even Yoichi being a little bit wistful at the loss of his own brother. The only person he can ever be biogenetically related to. And ultimately, we're going to be on break for, is it going to be 2 weeks? A week from now will be, I'm recording this on the 7th, so a week from now will be the 14th. And then a week after that will be the 21st. But I guess Sunday. So today's Thursday, the 8th is Friday, the 9th. Then, yeah, so I think it's like a 2-week break. We'll be on break next week. Or no, just a 1-week break. Because then, some mathematics. Your boy's not going to math too hard here. But I still really, really like this chapter. A solid, I mean, once again, I do have weird complaints about Quirk stuff, but that's Quirk stuff. I'll hold that. I'll take the character writing above all else for this. And ultimately, the demise of All For One is I'm now more than happy to take a sip to. So let me knock one back for that one. Tastes like evil baby tears. But with it being the case, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave evil baby tears in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Planes, Redwell 4765, and Greyhound. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons of Victor, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, and Demix LND. I'd like to give a juicy old thank you to our $7 member, Autumn's Morning Lazo. I'd like to give a healthy thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. I'd like to give a shonka dunka hunka thunka thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give a scrumdiddlyumptious super science thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.